What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you, and, well, a new supergroup to go over. We are going to go over the debut offering from Cemetery Skyline with their new album, Nordic Gothic. This also comes out on the 11th of October on Century Media Records. This band formed this year. Internationally, though I would say most of the members are from Sweden and Finland. Again, this is a supergroup, features current and former members of bands like Dark Tranquillity, Amorphis, Sentenced, Insomnium, and even Entombed. And, well, alright, this one was omitted from the archives so far, but I can maybe see why. Maybe this is more goth rock / goth metal. Honestly, it doesn't sound really much like anything the other bands sound like, which is kind of cool for a supergroup. And legit, this album, I would say, is a perfect soundtrack for the gray October days that are coming, and possibly all the way through November, too.
Yeah, I called it initially the perfect soundtrack for the upcoming holiday. Happy Halloween, guys, because that's what is going on here. I've never heard of this band, but I've heard of every band that this batch of members are in. Admittedly, my feelings for goth rock have always kind of been just more like, meh. To me, it always seemed kind of gimmicky, and I never really got into it. And then On to Others came out and pretty much blew my mind, and I said, well, okay. And then when Nick told me what this was, I was like, well, we'll see. And I gotta be honest, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I heard a couple of the singles, namely Violent Storm, which was their first single, and I was like, man, that is catchy. Man, that sounds like a heavy version of Sisters of Mercy. And I like Sisters of Mercy, so that's a good sign already. But this album is pretty much just lush, dark, dreary. Like, if you're looking at the album cover, it's pretty much that. Like, especially if you open up the gatefold and see all the pictures of, like, you know, rainy everything and the city landscape that they made. This was built to, like, score gothic movies. Like, every cityscape you saw in, like, The Crow. Yeah, no, this could have been, like, perfect backdrop music.
And it has a really strong 80s vibe. Like, I have felt like a kid again. A sad kid, but a kid nonetheless.
Pretty much just, you know, grounded. It's a rainy day anyway. You're not allowed to watch TV, so you just go to your room and be sad and watch it rain outside, which I think rain is kind of what happens as soon as you press play. I was actually surprised it didn't rain as soon as I pressed play on this.
Most of these songs, if not all of them, are very uplifting. I'm going to get to the one that isn't. But for the most part, very uplifting, full of huge, lush, atmospheric synths. I mean, just a lot of fist pumper moments. Again, tons of things I wasn't expecting, and oh so very catchy.
Yes. This album does not waste any time getting to the hooks, and that is pretty much true for just about every song in here. Right away, the opening track, Torn Away, has a big synth build-up. And when Michael Stein comes in on vocals, it really sounds like Sisters of Mercy at certain points, or like David Bowie.
100%.
He's got this, like, you know, kind of like baritone-ish croon, and it just kind of captures all the dreary misery for every word he utters. But at the same time, when it gets down the chorus, you get these big hooks. Like, they kind of soar just a little bit, because goth rock is a very particular kind of hook. Like, the chorus has to sound a little bit bigger, maybe just a smidge brighter, but not too bright because we can't have anyone smiling, but also not too depressing because we want our audience to still be alive after the show.
So, like, triumphantly sad.
Yeah.
Which is strange to say, but it really is the case. Like, most of them are just like, yeah, just big, huge moments. All the choruses are catchy. Every single one.
Bummer anthems. Let's all be sad together.
All right.
Not really, though. The songwriting here, I think, is just, like, very straightforward. Like, every song feels like it is just destined to find the big hook. Violent Storm, Behind the Lie, Anomaly or Anomaly, they spelled it differently. Maybe it's a play on words. I don't know. But big, lush hooks, and I'll be honest, like, this album, in terms of, like, what really kind of draws you in, or at least for me, it's odd that it's not, like, guitar riffs. It is mostly synths and vocals on here that really draw me in. Now, Michael Stein, I think, is an awesome vocalist. I've been a Dark Tranquillity fan for years. I love his work in Grand Cadaver and the Halo Effect. My God, that dude is busy. But here you get a chance to hear him do all clean singing. There's really not a roar or scream on this at all, namely because it really wouldn't fit. But he doesn't have, again, the biggest range, but the range that he is in is literally perfect for every song. And he generates absolutely memorable, just huge chorus hooks.
And the synth work on this album, first of all, done by Cemetery Skyline of Amorphis. I mean, right then and there, you know that the synths are going to be solid. And normally I complain about synths in a good 80% of the music I listen to with synths, but here they're all really well done. The choices, even though they're out front for the most part, are just, they fit everything perfectly. Because you either go from droning bass synths to big chorus effects, or a nice piano, or some proggy keys almost.
There's a lot of textures and layering, and he knows how to harmonize with the guitar work on here really well. And the guitars are done by Marcus Van Halle of Insomnium, who is an awesome guitarist in his own right. But these two harmonizing together create these huge, just these big goth rock layers. But occasionally it does have a slightly more metallic feel. In Darkness, Behind the Lie, and I'd say a good chunk of Never Look Back, definitely have some more metallic riffs to them. They're generally more driving chugs. And then on top of that, you hear these lush synth melodies. So they play off of each other really well, and they create this just absolutely gloomy but catchy atmosphere. And the overall sound, it's more comparable to goth rock stuff, of course, like Sisters of Mercy and such. But I would also say Catatonia a bit, definitely some Typo Negative. But again, also the Cults, The Cure, and maybe even a touch of Killing Joke here or there. Hell, I even heard some hooks that kind of reminded me of Tears for Fears. It's all very much in this kind of 80s rock vibe, but again with sort of a gothic makeover across the board.
I mean, to me it sounded like it could have scored every 80s vampire movie ever. Behind the Lie reminded me actually of The Lost Boys.
A little bit. And most of this album, again, is more mid-tempo to up-tempo. The songs are very driven. The drum work is very straightforward, but it locks on that groove and kind of propels the songs. And it's kind of nice because I feel if any of these songs kind of lulled at a certain point, which I mean they do at certain points, and we'll get to that. But if any of these anthems kind of lulled at any point, the sadness would kind of consume you. It's like the Nothing catching up to you in The Neverending Story. See, I can bring up The Neverending Story without bringing up Artax dying. Oh shit, I did it. There it is. But the songs are just, again, very propelled to the chorus. There's good pre-choruses. And one of the things that I like about songs that are really kind of driven by a big chorus hook is you do that last chorus, you make it a little bit bigger, like a subtle key change. Yeah. Violent Storm does a brilliant job of that. That song is kind of still living rent-free in my head right now.
Yeah, in fact, I sang the chorus to several of these several times. It's you can't not. It's so catchy, and just the way it's presented and the way the songs are composed and the build up to it, they make that moment hit. And it's usually on the second chorus where the key change and you're just God damn it, I gotta sing. And I did. I sang the chorus to Violent Storm and The Darkest Night and The Coldest Heart.
That sounds like a trilogy of young adult novels or something about vampires and werewolves and goblins and shit.
My childhood was full of Jesus, so there was none of that.
There are some songs that do kind of get outside of the very straightforward, kind of driving goth rock vibe on here. When Silence Speaks, I would say, is definitely more of the ballad. Kinda. It walks a line between a ballad and a dirge. It's slower. I would say it's one of the few songs in here that is purely melancholic. It is down in the dumps and dreary. And it has this interesting thing that it does around the chorus that I really liked. The verses are very, I would say somber, a little bit more subdued. There's not a lot of big guitars or anything like that. In fact, it's mostly synths and then Michael, crooning misery to you. And then you can feel it build towards the chorus and it starts ascending. And then when it hits the chorus, it immediately drops down. So before it even kind of took off, because it felt like it was going to be the big bright chorus. And then it hits you with a fucking chorus that's like sadder than the verses.
Yeah, it's sad as shit, I'm not gonna lie. But if you really want to get sad, and I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't really fully sad during a majority of this record, because again, a majority of this record I found to be almost like fist pumper anthems. I mean, they're melancholy, but yeah, I was having a good time. But the last track, Alone Together, one of the saddest fucking songs I think I've ever heard. The lyrics are incredibly sad. I did myself a disservice by reading them, and just a little emotional. I mean, and the song sets up so well too. Like, it opens up with what I would compare to like raindrops. Like, it's very, very sullen, and like there are moments where you think that like the sun is peeking through the clouds a little bit, but then the man opens his mouth, and I swear to God, tears. There was no fear. There were just tears.
Yeah, the lyrics, to me, it seems to like reflect like isolation and being cut off from everyone. Like, I kind of got hit in like the COVID isolation feels a little bit on that one. It's such a huge, lush, just, I don't know, it kind of just draws you into its miserable world. And you kind of just get stuck there because the melodies are so infectious. In fact, the chorus refrain, ugh. Yeah, dude, like it just kind of just like, well, there's my heart, just throw that away, we don't need that anymore. I'll just let my feelings leak through my face.
Yep.
But it's absolutely beautiful, and the way it's constructed, like, it's one of the most dynamic songs, and it's also the longest song on the album, being the only one that's like over 7 minutes. Most of these have a tight runtime, like they don't waste any time getting to the hook, the thing that draws you in. This song is constructed very differently, but honestly, it's one of the most effective tracks on there. The Coldest Heart also, but that one, it wasn't necessarily Bummersville. Well, I mean, it kind of was. It sounds like Typo Negative.
A lot.
And, you know, Typo, huge band for me growing up. And it even comes in with like an isolated bass line. It has just that kind of like big, lush Typo sound. And the production here, again, absolutely fantastic. Like, they could have done Typo covers throughout this entire album.
Yeah.
It would have sounded perfect. But when it gets down to the verses, there's almost like a kind of like the Doors like kind of swing to it. Like, even Michael kind of sounds like he's channeling Jim Morrison a little bit. But when you get back to that chorus, it instantly switches gears back to Typo. You even get some like anthemic shouts in the background. And that kind of keeps it from being like too sullen, other than me remembering how awesome Typo was and all the times I got to see him and missing Peter Steele. That's still kind of hard to shake, but the overall sound of the song and just how well they did it, I about October busted in my pants.
Oh, no.
That's a Typo joke, by the way. It means nothing else. But yeah, like pure Bloody Kisses, pure October Rust. Yeah. It's just a beautiful song. And to their credit, they do get like a little bit more bright and uplifting, at least in one song in particular, Never Look Back. That's like kind of just a flat out 80s rocker, and honestly, probably one of the few where the synths kind of sit back just a little bit.
The synths sit back, and even the vocals sit a little bit back in the beginning. Like, just the overall build progression of the song is really cool. And not only does it take an 80s vibe, but I still get little hints of prog, and they're in the synths towards the end. There's this really cool synth ascension that they eventually end up harmonizing that sounds really cool.
I got like flat out 80s rock vibes. Like, honestly, there were points in here that reminded me of Ozzy's Ultimate Sin, like namely Shot in the Dark. Especially when it comes down to like the drum and bass isolation and the vocals, and then the main riff on it, like it's just got this big catchy 80s hook to it. And the song being like slightly more guitar driven, like this is probably the most guitar driven song on the album, I would say, because a lot of the time it's kind of the synths that do a lot of the grandstanding. Outside of the breakdown on Behind the Lie, which is probably like the singular heaviest moment, like not heavy emotionally, that's the entire album, but like heavy in terms of like more metallic. That song, Never Look Back, is probably one of the most like, a little bit more metal centric, or at least like kind of like, again, that 80s sort of metal vibe. In terms of any negatives, like maybe the most minor thing I could say is like, yeah, some of the songs do sound similar. They capture a similar vibe, but they kind of win on hooks. Like, the songs are catchy, they're infectious. Like I said, he was singing choruses that he had just heard.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of like a testament to like how catchy a song can be. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more like guitar driven stuff. I mean, the guitars are very present in the mix. They kind of have like, it's a heavy, but it's like a softer kind of heavy tone. But that's not necessarily a complaint because I love the sound of the album. The production here was great. This was actually mixed by Alexander Backlund, who is the frontman of Letters from the Colony, which I haven't thought about that band in forever.
I haven't either. Where are you, Letters from the Colony? Where are you? Because I really enjoyed that first record. That's neither here nor there. Yeah, I really don't have any complaints. I guess I could jump on board with a lot of these songs at least start kind of the same with the big synth swells, but I almost feel like those synth swells are kind of necessary to set the overall pace and tone for the song. And really, again, the choruses just step in and you have no choice but to find each of these songs catchy in their own right.
Yeah, I mean, I would really have to go searching, and I mean, some of this, it definitely has some like nostalgic appeal to it, but ultimately for me it comes down to execution. I think they executed this really well. So overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. I really dig this. Man, a lot of killer goth rock stuff coming out this year. I mean, it's the right month for it too. Like, this is a solid October soundtrack, especially if you want to be energized and sad at the same time. Like, a lot of these songs have a good anthemic quality to it. Michael Stahn absolutely kills it on vocals. I really dig his delivery on here. The production, the atmosphere, the hooks. Like, every song in here has solid hooks, whether it's vocals, synths, guitars. Sometimes it's even just a rhythm.
Yep.
It's catchier than hell. It captures a vibe that I love. If you're a big fan of, like a lot of like goth rock stuff, like Sisters of Mercy, namely, I would say again, The Cure, The Cult, but also like Typo Negative, a little bit of Killing Joke, Catatonia, stuff like that. Just check this out. This is a really solid listen.
I surprisingly am also going to give this a 4. I don't know what is wrong with me, because going into, well, anything really, I've never really been a goth rock fan, and then On to Others came out and whooped my ass. When this record started, I'm going to be honest, I was like, yeah, this is not really my bag. I even said those words to you at some point. I was like, this isn't really for me, but man, as it went on, it's just so catchy.
It filled his bag. That's what he's saying, right? That's
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
It filled my bag, yep. And I think a lot of it plays into nostalgia. Once again, I felt like a kid, a sad kid, but a kid nonetheless. I don't know, it reminds me of the 80s, and I enjoyed a lot of periods of the 80s. I mean, we're talking fist-pumping moments, and most of it is a rock vibe. There's even a little bit of like techno and industrial shoved in there, and I don't know, it's just, this was a really good album. The composure of these songs is awesome. The synth work is awesome. The vocal hooks, you guys. I can't speak enough about the vocal hooks. You're going to sing these songs too. You're going to hear this, and you're going to be like, yeah. And you're going to find yourself singing Violent Storm. It's going to happen. Mark my words. But yeah, if you're a fan of, again, Catatonia, Typo Negative, The Doors, Killing Joke, definitely The Cure, probably some Tears for Fears. I heard it in there. It's in there. I don't know. Check this record out. I had a lot of fun.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also now have memberships, too. If you'd like to help us out that way, there is a join button down below. It is only 99 cents, and I believe our only perk so far is just a members-only chat, which we will eventually start doing probably next month. This month is absolutely loaded with reviews. There's a lot of stuff coming out. But it is pretty much the new way to help out the channel. This is also kind of our new way to pay for StreamYard, because StreamYard is raising their prices. Granted, the quality is going up, but still they're raising the prices. Either way, if you would just like to support this channel, we would appreciate it. All you have to do is click the join button, and there's probably some other instructions too, like you have to sign your soul away or your dog or whatever. We don't want your dog. We do want your soul, though.
I would like to pet your dog.
All jokes aside, though, just click the join button if you want to help us out.
And certainly, as always, tons of stuff coming your way. Album reviews, discography rankings. We will get to our discography rankings again. The back half of this year has been absolutely stacked with albums, and it's really hard to just kind of dive into something else. But anyway, tons of discussion forums, multiple segments. Is it metal, is it not metal? Nick's never-ending collection updates. What's John Jammin is coming back. Tons of stuff going on at Thralls of Metal. We do it all for you because we appreciate you guys. Without you guys, it would just be two dickheads in a basement talking about metal, which we were going to do anyway. The fact that we've turned on the camera and for whatever reason you like it, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule. Again, tons of content coming your way. So one more big thank you because of all your rulage, and we will catch you later.